Hey guys, it's Shanaria here. So it's been a minute since I've recorded. I've had a lot of stuff going on. I'll explain it much later. So I'm just gonna get right into it. You guys who are subscribed to me pretty much know that for a living I do like braiding, like weaves and box braids and twists and locks and things like that. So this particular day I was doing this lady's hair. When she called me, it was a little shady because she just thought that my prices were too high, and I don't know, she was late. Just all kinds of things were happening that day. Now I'm a person who is really learning to, I guess, listen, more like trust my woman's intuition, because a lot of times I am so dead on, it's scary. That's one of the things I've been learning, because at first I was like, you know what, I don't think I should do her hair, blah blah, but I did it anyway. Then she called me again, and 2 weeks later she's like, hey, you know, I want my edges redone, because she had like a picking problem where she would pick the hair out of the braids, which is really not good for you to do. So I redid her hair, and we were speaking and talking. Now the first time that I did her hair, she spoke about her ex-girlfriend. She had kind of like talked a little bit about her, and you know, she's gay, so she has a girlfriend, not like a, you know, best friend, it's like a girlfriend. And the girlfriend was like ashamed to be gay, and she didn't want the family to know who she was, and she was hiding things and everything. So the next time she came by, she spoke about it more. And we were talking, and she was just saying, you know, a lot of things. Like she had gotten loans out for her, and she had helped her get her house, but the girl was abusive, and all these type of things. So yeah, we were talking, and usually because of bad experiences, I try not to really befriend people. This is gonna sound really superficial, really wrong of me, but due to like very bad experiences, I stopped befriending people who are in abusive relationships, because I've tried to rescue people, and in the end I end up being like the bad guy, because a lot of times they end up running back to them. So I just kind of like stopped getting myself involved in like drama unless somebody actually really wants to be helped. They don't just need like a scapegoat to, you know, stop them from thinking about that person. So we ended up going to dinner. She was like, do you want to go out one day to lunch or something? So this is very common. If you guys think it's weird, it's not. People go out to dinner with their clients all the time for hair. It's very, very common. So I told her, sure, you know, I do it with anybody else. So I said, that's great, you know. So we go out to something like, you know, simple, nothing too serious. We go to like Baby A's. We got some margaritas, some tacos, stuff like that, and we just talked and hung out, and it was really cool. She was really interesting, and it was just refreshing. Oh, people are gliding me. It was just refreshing to meet someone else who has the same interests as me and all those things. So while we were talking, she goes in more, and she's just talking about her, and at the end, she pays for it. I notioned from my wallet, and she was like, oh no, you're fine. And I was like, are you sure? And she said, no, it's fine, you know, I'm the one who asked you out, I'm gonna get this one. I said, okay, that's fine. It's pretty typical for a person to pay if they've asked somebody out, so it wasn't like that, you know. I didn't think anything more of it. The next few days, she calls me all the time, and I've noticed this a lot in my relationships. I will turn into the person that everybody wants to just talk to and vent, and I give them advice, and a lot of times they don't want to be helped. They just want to hear themselves talk about that person, and I seem to fall into that category all the time. She calls me multiple times a day, like when she's on her lunch break, she calls me during work, she calls me on her way to work, she calls me when she gets out, just all the time. And it'll be quick conversations like, hey, I'm just sitting in my car, I'm on my break, you know, I'm headed to somewhere, blah blah, I just thought I would call you and talk, and I'll talk to her and stuff. And I don't know, sometimes I'm just whatever, don't blame me. So then she's like, hey, do you want to go to Kona Grill one of these nights? And I was like, sure, let's go. So we end up meeting up at Kona Grill, and we were just talking, and I don't know, she started to get weirdly jealous. one of the people, like somebody came up to me and was like, wow, you're really beautiful, something like that. And then another guy came up to me and you know, he complimented me and he was trying to talk to me, and she was like, wow, you know, a lot of people like to talk to you, do you like that? And I was just like, I don't know, nobody's ever really asked me that, so I was like, I don't know, it's just, I guess it's nice to be complimented. Maybe she thought I was full of myself because of something that somebody else said. I don't even know, but you know, it's happened sometimes, especially if I'm wearing a specific lipstick. People would just come up to me and want something gravitates more. So we were talking more, and she asks me, so have you ever, like, she asked me if I was straight or if I was gay, and I told her my answer and she was like, oh, okay, and stuff. So we talked a little bit more. And you know, she talks about her ex-girlfriend a lot whenever we're together and stuff. She's always making her mad or making her sad, or she's crying and this and that. And she sits and she shows me a picture of her, because I'm like, let me see this girl again, because for somebody to brag about somebody so much, this person must be really hot, because the first picture she showed me, it was not that great. And whenever I talk to her about a guy I'm dating, she's like, ew, he's ugly as fuck, he's disgusting, you could do so much better, do you have low self-esteem? She always says stuff like that. But people that know me know that I usually go for like the nerdy good guy. I don't really go for looks. I like to laugh, and I like guys with good personalities, things like that. I go more for that whenever I'm dating. But yeah, she would just tear the guys down, so I completely stopped talking about anybody I was even talking to. She shows me a picture of the girl. Okay, first of all, okay, I'm not gonna talk about anybody, but I am, because I'm a messy person. You guys know this. She just was not, like, I'm thinking somebody, you know, borderline hot at least. She was not. She was a much older woman, first of all, and she just wasn't. I was like, okay. And so since she would always talk about the guys I would date, I would be like, wow. All I literally said was, I thought she was gonna be different looking. That's exactly what I said. And then she got super offended, and she got upset. She started saying other stuff, and look, she was so rude that I haven't done this in a long time, but I physically like kind of pushed myself away, and I couldn't even look at her because she just was so fucking offensive. She was just like, why? What about the ugly fucking dude you talk to all the time? She's not ugly. I didn't even call her ugly, but I guess you were looking for me to say something bad about her because other people probably have. I don't even know, but y'all, I don't know. It was going so bad. I had my menu like this. And y'all, I was already done eating. The check was like on its way. That's how bad the date was. I sat there like this, trying not to look at her because I just couldn't like believe how rude she was being. So she could sense obviously that I didn't want to talk to her anymore, and she was like, what's wrong? Did I say something? You know, and I was just like, I was just baffled. I was like, no, it's just I didn't say anything about the girl. I told her. I was just surprised. I didn't think she was gonna look that way. I thought she was gonna be different looking. That's all, because you talk about her so much. So the check comes, and I got my money out, and she was like, you know, we're just gonna split this because I didn't get paid this week. So I was like, that's fine, you know, whatever, even though you invited me out, and last time you were saying, you know, it's fine, you don't even have to say that. Every time we've gone out, I always reach for my wallet to get the money out because, you know, and this time I was actually going to pay because she did it last time, you know, but she had already said that. So anyway, I drove home, and after I drove back home, she calls me, and it was just crazy because like she had been having like really bad toothaches and stuff, and she had actually she had come over to my house afterward because a couple of braids needed to be tightened. She came over and she left and she went back home. I had been to her house before. I forgot to mention this, and I stayed there for a little bit, and I could sense that she was getting like bored of me, so I left. But before I left, I was like, oh, you should make a POF. a profile or something so that you can try to meet someone else, because I was always trying to tell her that, you know, she has really good options because she's such a nice person, and, you know, she's so giving, and, you know, women would love her, and she strictly only dates women. So, you know, she had made the profile and everything, and we did that before I left her house. So anyway, she calls me when she gets home, and she's like, my tooth is hurting so bad. Can you please bring over my medicine? I left it on the floor on accident. I did not feel like going over to her house. It's like a 30-minute ride almost, but I did it, even though it was awkward after dinner. I grabbed the bag and I drove to her house. There was nowhere to park, so I just double parked, triple parked, or whatever. And I ran upstairs and I gave her her bag, and when she opened the door, she wasn't wearing really anything. She had on a t-shirt that barely covered her hoo-ha, and I was like, wow, you know, okay. And I just handed it to her and I was like, I gotta go. And she's like, wait, you're leaving already? And I was like, yeah, you know, what do you think? I have to go. I told her I triple parked, I have to go right now. And so she was like, okay, well, will you be back? And I was like, yeah, I'll be back. You know, not tonight, but I'll be back. It was just weird. Like, she did like a complete 180, 360 or whatever. I was just like, what? So I drove back home, and I did not really hear from her anymore. And I didn't really notice it. It's crazy because, like, she would call me so much morning, noon, night, in betweens and stuff like that to see what I was doing and talk about stuff. And to nothing. So then I finally started noticing it. So one day I was taking the bus back to Austin. I had drove like the mega bus to Houston, then I drove it back to Austin, and I needed a ride. So I called her, and then she called me like hours after I had gotten back and was like, she texted me, was like, hey, I was busy, blah blah blah. So yeah, so anyway, slowly we just completely stopped talking to each other. I got a call from like this number, and I didn't know who this number was, but the person just started screaming and crying, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Who is this? And she said, and all that was going on. I said, who is this? She's like, this is, and I was like, what? And she said, yeah, I had to change my number because me and got into an argument. And so I said, okay. And I was like, what's going on? And so she started telling me that since she broke her lease at her apartment, the other girl said she would come down for the weekend and come sign it her new apartment to help her get it, and all kinds of stuff. And I was like, okay. And so I just started giving her advice the usual, even though I hadn't talked to this girl in maybe like 2 weeks or anything. And the last time we talked, she was so fucking rude and you know, was just being crazy. So yeah, we hadn't talked, and I was talking to her, but the problem was that she was not listening to me, y'all. This girl called me to hear me not even talk. She called me to talk about her problems, and I was giving her some really good advice, like advice that I would give myself. I was telling her, well, you can either have two choices. You can either leave her and try to like work things out on your own because you're smart, you have a degree, you're beautiful, you're working in your field, blah blah blah. I was telling her all these things, and she was like, yeah, that's exactly what this girl was saying. So after I noticed that she was not even listening, I told her, all right, well, I gotta go. I'm on a date. I'll talk to you later. And I hung up. And she gonna send me this nasty, rude ass text message talking about, that's why you date ugly guys, and you made me think you were a lesbian, and all kinds of stuff. Just craziness. Like, what kind of person are you? And then she said something. She was just stupid and just rude. And then she blocked my number. So I was like, okay, bitch, good, you know, whatever. Then that was the last that I ever heard of that girl, that crazy girl. I mean, the crazy thing is that, like, besides all of that, is that I go out with people, like, sometimes. If somebody asks me to go to dinner, I'm like, sure, you know, that's fine, whatever. I don't just assume that just because you're gay that you want to get with me. Like, it's not like that. Like, just because you're gay doesn't mean that you want somebody or that you want every girl that walks by. Like, it's not like that. So, I just didn't assume that she was interested in me. Second of all, why would I date somebody who is constantly talking about their ex-girlfriend, like their ex, period? Like, why are you talking about your ex all the time to somebody that you have an interest in? You think that I want someone who is not over their ex and is clearly still in love, because she told me. Like, what do you think I'm some, like, what? No. I feel like she just wanted me to tell her, I want you, let's fuck. Like, she just probably wanted a jump off or something, like, in between her, whatever. But I just thought that was so rude and so stupid and just really inconsiderate and stuff. But yeah, the crazy thing is I still go to dinner with my clients and stuff, and I still build relationships. That hasn't ended or anything. But anyway, guys, that was story time with me, and I will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.